in the trembling silence between breath and word, there exists a realm forgotten by the modern world, a realm not of maps and roads, but of myths and dreams. And it is here, my friends, where we must begin, for the world is falling not from lack of technology or innovation, but because you have abandoned the inner quest. You have forsaken the soul's great pilgrimage for comfort, for control, for distraction. But the myths, yes, the ancient myths, they have not forgotten you. They still whisper through the cracks of your restless mind. They call to you in dreams and in moments of inexplicable longing, calling you not to answers, but to journey. The hero's journey is not a tale of the past. It is the eternal drama unfolding in every human life. It begins, always, with the call to adventure. And though today you may not face a literal dragon or cross a physical sea, the call, it arrives as discontent, as ache, as the sense that the life you lead is a pale reflection of what it could be. But most refuse the call. They fear the unknown, and so they remain in the ordinary world, where every day is the same. Yet myth teaches that this refusal brings suffering, not safety. For to deny the adventure is to deny your own becoming. The world around you begins to decay, not because the gods are angry, but because you have grown forgetful of the gods within. And when finally you answer, perhaps in a moment of crisis or revelation, or sheer exhaustion of the mundane, you cross the threshold. Here lies the guardian of the gate. Sometimes it is a person who warns you back. Sometimes it is your own inner voice, echoing the words of fear. But those who walk the mythic path know the guardian exists to test your will, to ask if you are truly ready to leave behind the illusion of safety. Beyond this threshold, the air thickens. Time moves strangely. You find yourself in the forest dark or the belly of the whale. It is the underworld, the place of the unknown. Here, the rules of the world you once knew no longer apply. Logic is replaced by symbol, reason by intuition. You are stripped of your titles, your roles, your masks. This is the realm of trials and allies, of tests and enemies. Here, the gods take strange shapes. A beggar, a serpente, a wounded animal, a whisper in the trees. You are not given instructions. You are given only yourself, and yourself is a labyrinth. The dark night comes. The road disappears. The old maps are useless. It is here, in the inmost cave, where the hero must confront the shadow. The shadow is not evil, but unintegrated. It is all you have rejected, disowned, hidden away, and yet it is the gatekeeper to the treasure. You cannot claim the boon without embracing the darkness. And so, like Inanna descending into the underworld, like Christ into the tomb, like the Buddha beneath the Bodhi tree, you must face death. This death is symbolic, yet no less real. It is the death of ego, of certainty, of control. It is the sacrifice the journey demands. And if you endure not with might, but with surrender, you emerge transformed. This is not a victory as the world defines it. This is a quiet radiance, a new center. You have met the archetype of the eternal within yourself. You are no longer merely human. You are myth incarnate. But the journey is not over. The hero must return. And the return is often the most difficult stage of all. For how can one bring the fire of the gods back to a world addicted to the cold light of reason? How can you speak of dragons slain and shadows integrated to those who have never left the village square? Yet this, too, is the task. The boon must be shared. The inner treasure must find outer expression, or it dies within you. So you speak. You create. You love with the wisdom of the wound. You become mentor to others, perhaps without their knowing. You are now the guide, the threshold guardian, the keeper of lore. The world, stillfallen, finds light through your presence. And this, my friends, is why myth matters. This is why the inner quest must be reclaimed. For every soul that walks the hero's path plants a seed in the soil of the collective. And though storms may rage and towers may fall, those seeds, remember, you are not just a person. You are a myth unfolding. You are the chalice and the flame, the question and the answer, the seeker and the road. And somewhere in your soul, the drums of destiny are beating once more. And when the hero returns, bearing the gift hard won in the fire of the soul, the world may not be ready. In fact, the world may reject the gift. For to carry truth into a society rooted in forgetfulness is to speak in tongues. The boon, be it insight, compassion, artistic fire, sacred rage, or unshakable peace, will challenge the old order. It always has. Prometheus was chained for stealing fire. Moses was scorned by the very people he led. The awakened Buddha was doubted even by his kin. But this is the paradox of the sacred journey. The world both needs your gift and fears it. The light you carry illuminates the shadows of the collective. And so, to walk the hero's path is to be both healer and heretic, prophet and outcast. The gift tests you again, not through fire this time, but through silence, through doubt, through the daily toil of integrating the extraordinary into the ordinary. Still, you persist because something within you knows that the journey was never just about you. It was about restoring the balance. In myth, and this is the moment the kingdom is healed, the drought ends. The king awakens, the wasteland begins to bloom. But these are not merely external miracles. They are inner landscapes. When one soul reclaims its mythic path, it ripples into the soul of the world. The grail is never for one hand alone. And so you walk not with the swagger of conquest, but with the humility of those who have tasted the abyss and chosen love anyway. You begin to see the myth in every face. The stranger is no longer stranger. They are Ariadne, Hermes, Anubis, the veiled teacher in disguise. Even your enemies become sacred, for they carry the mirror of your forgotten selves. You walk through the world like a bridge between realms. One foot in mystery, the other in form. And though the path remains narrow and the winds harsh, you do not turn back. Because you know what lies behind the empty throne, the crumbling temple, the inner famine that consumes those who refuse to dream. To abandon the inner quest is not neutrality, it is betrayal. Betrayal of the seed of divinity placed within you. Betrayal of the ancestors who walked this earth with eyes on the stars. Betrayal of the children, yet unborn, who await your song to awaken their own. But to return to remember is to become more than yourself. It is to become the song, the fire, the legend whispered around future fires. It is to stand at the still center of the turning world and say, I have gone into the night, and I have seen the face of the sacred, and I am not afraid. And here, something wondrous begins. The journey, once linear, begins to spiral. The hero becomes the mentor. The threshold once feared becomes the temple's gate. The cave, once filled with monsters, becomes the womb of stars. Time folds. The myth breathes you, and you breathe it in return. And now, let me remind you, this is not metaphor for the mind alone. This is real as bone and breath. For myth is not a lie, it is the language of the soul. It is how eternity speaks in the voice of time. So listen, truly listen in your heart. The drums are still beating, the call is still sounding, not from outside, but from within. The oracle is not on the mountain, it is in your chest, and the world, broken and beautiful, waits not for saviors in shining armor, but for ordinary souls who dare to descend into the dark and return with light, not to conquer, but to remember, not to preach, but to be. This is your quest. Not because it is comfortable, not because it is safe, but because it is the only path that leads home. And home, dear listener, is not a place, it is a state of being. It is the garden that exists beyond opposites, where the serpent is not cursed, but understood, where the tree of knowledge and the tree of life are one. It is not found on any map, for it was never lost, only veiled by the dust of forgetting. You see, in every myth, the hero does not simply return to how things were. The journey rewrites the very fabric of their being. They no longer belong entirely to the world they left, nor are they bound by the illusions that once defined them. They are liminal, threshold walkers, dancers between fails. And that is what the world lacks now. Not more data, not louder opinions, not higher towers. It lacks threshold walkers. It lacks those who have dared to fall inward and rise as bridges. And so the kingdom decays. The center cannot hold, not because it is weak, but because it is empty, hollowed out by a culture that worships speed and forsakes depth. That celebrates the surface but forgets the well. And yet the myths endure like embers buried beneath ash, waiting for breath, waiting for someone, perhaps you, to kneel beside them, to remember, to believe again in sacred fire. And once lit, that flame will not just warm your hands, it will illuminate the path for others, because that is the true purpose of the journey, not to escape the world, but to re-enchant it. Can you see now why the ancients wrapped their truths in stories? Why they spoke of dragons and goddesses? of tricksters and trials. It was not to entertain, it was to transmit, to encode the sacred in form, to carry the medicine through time. For you are not the first to be lost. You are not the first to forget the way. In the silence of deep time, others have walked before you. Gilgamesh, who sought immortality and found wisdom in loss. Arjuna, who stood paralyzed on the battlefield, torn between duty and despair. Psyche, who journeyed to the underworld for the sake of love. And Christ, whose path led through death, not to an end, but to transfiguration. These are not relics, they are mirrors. And in your reflection, you may now begin to see the truth that you were never merely human. You are the dream of the cosmos walking in flesh. You are the memory of stars echoing through bone, and the ache you feel, the emptiness in your soul. It is not failure. It is the hunger for myth, for initiation, for meaning. But let me warn you, as every elder once warned their apprentice, this path will cost you everything that is false. You will not get to keep your persona, your masks, your comfortable lies. The ego will resist. It will bargain, then scream, then shatter. And you must let it, because beneath the mask is the face, the gods, remember? And until you wear that face, the world will remain a blur. You must descend again, deeper this time, not once, but many times, because the spiral calls us not to a single death and rebirth, but to a lifelong rhythm of shedding and becoming. And in every descent, you will meet a new face of the shadow, the wounded child, the jealous sibling, the unseen ancestor. Embrace them all. Offer them light, for they are not your enemies, they are the keys. And when the cycle begins again, and you will no longer fear the fall. For you will know the darkness is not absence of light, but the womb of it. The cave is not your grave, but your forge. And every ending is a gateway, shaped like your own soul. So go now, not outward, but inward. Walk the road that turns beneath your skin. Seek not escape, but embodiment, and carry with you the stories not as entertainment, but as compass, because the world is crying out not for heroes, but for those who remember how to become them. And now, as the spiral nears completion, let us return once more to the beginning that is no longer the same. You see, the village to which the hero returns is the same in form but transformed in meaning, because the one who sees changes what is seen. The world remains tangled in its quarrels and hungers. Yes, but now the initiate moves through it with the eyes of myth. Every encounter becomes a symbol. Every hardship, rite, every breath, a prayer. This is the quiet revolution. It does not shout. It does not parade. It is the revolution of presence, of the soul remembering its shape in the mirror of myth. And you, yes, you have always belonged to this lineage. It matters not what stories you were told as a child, whether you heard of Odin hanging from the world tree, or the Monkey King leaping through heaven, of Isis reassembling Osiris, or Raven stealing back the light. These stories live in your blood. They were whispered by firelight in every corner of the earth, because the soul is older than any one nation, older than language itself. So let us remember that to be human is not to be trapped in flesh, it is to be initiated into form. That your suffering is not meaningless. It is the crucible that cracks the shell around your heart. That your longings are not weaknesses, they are the compass of your becoming. Do not seek to return to who you were. That person was a chrysalis. Instead, ask, who am I now that I have walked the inner road? Who am I? Now that the world behind my eyes is as vast as the stars above. Do not fear the crumbling of old structures. The temple must fall for the grove to grow. The tower must burn for the birds to find their sky. The myths say it clearly. The old king must die for the new world to arise. And if the world is falling, perhaps it is because a deeper order is trying to emerge. The hero does not prevent the fall. They walk through it with vision. They are not savior, but seed bearer. And you, too, carry seeds of courage, of compassion, of clarity born in darkness. Plant them with care. Plant them in silence, if you must, but plant them. And when others come to you, weary, lost, aching for something they cannot name, do not preach. Tell them a story, not to convince, but to awaken, not to lead, but to mirror. For myth is the language of the soul, calling itself back home. You are not too late. You are not unworthy. You are not broken beyond repair. You are the dream of ages, walking upright, and the quest, though forgotten by many, is not closed. The path still waits, winding behind every silence, every tear, every burning question. It is not found in books or temples or even in these words. It is found in the moment you dare to turn inward. And listen to the call that has never left you. Listen to the cry beneath the noise of the world. Listen, for the hero does not find the journey. The journey finds the hero, and it is finding you now. So rise. The gates are opening once again. The guardian does not bar your way, he bows, for he has been waiting. The forest whispers your name. The stars lean in, and the flame of your soul remembers its shape. Step forward, not because the world needs saving, but because it needs remembering. And you are the memory that walks. You are the myth becoming real. You are the light returning to the center. And the journey has only just begun.